Hi, my name is Phil Burno, and welcome to Loving Your Guitar. This is the first in a series of introductory videos that are focusing on helping you to learn how to play your guitar. If you're a beginner, these videos are going to be perfect for you. But not only are we going to learn how to play the guitar, but we also are going to go over things that will help you maintain your guitar and make it feel and play better. That's very important when you're a beginning guitar player, because if the guitar is easier to play and well maintained, it's more fun to play. So, I've got a checklist of about 7 items or so that I want to be able to share with you so that you can make yourself well prepared to begin to learn on your guitar. So if you have a guitar, that's fine, that's great, and you're probably comfortable with that as much as you've worked with it. But if this is totally new to you, this will be great information for you, and you'll be able to learn how to either choose a guitar or to get your guitar that you already have work even better for you. Alright? So let's go ahead and get started. Hello again, and we're back. So now let's get to that list of 7 items that I had mentioned before that are things that every guitar player should at least have in their arsenal of components that help them take care of their guitar and make sure that it continues to be in good working order. So, first of all, the first item on that list is making sure that you have a 6-string guitar. Now that doesn't mean to have a 6-string guitar that only has 4 or 5 strings on it. That means that you need a 6-string guitar that has all 6 strings on it and intact. And if you don't have 6 strings, it's probably going to be a good idea to take a run down to your local guitar retail store like Guitar Center or Sam Ash. Any one of those stores, those types of stores, will have all types of guitar strings. Now, for instance, the type of guitar that I'm using today that I have is a classical guitar, which is a nylon string guitar, and there's strings that are particular to this guitar. But say if you have something like a steel string guitar, as a matter of fact, I actually have one of those right here. Let me show you my steel string guitar. Okay, sorry for reaching. Okay, this is my steel string guitar. Now this guitar is very similar except for the fact that it's a different style of guitar. This is a folk guitar as opposed to the classical guitar that I was just holding. And it's got, again, steel strings. And again, if you have a steel string acoustic guitar, you can go to the Guitar Center or the Sam Ash store or get online to the AMS or Musician's Friend and order strings. Very easy. And make sure that you have all 6 strings on your guitar. And if you need to know how to string that guitar, we can go over that later, or you can send me an email. And I'll give you my email address later on so that you can write to me and ask any questions that you may have about these items that I'm showing you on this video here. Okay? So again, we want to have a 6-string guitar, very important, so that when you're learning the items and the things that I'm going to show you in these videos, you'll have a guitar that's similar to mine, and you'll be able to follow along note for note and string for string what I'm teaching you. Okay, so very important again, have yourself a 6-string guitar that has all 6 strings intact. Alright, good. Now the next thing that you ought to have, and it's on my list, very important, just as important as having a guitar, is having the ability to keep that guitar in tune. Now, this right here is what I use. This is a good old tried and true Korg GT3 digital tuner that I've had for years, and I've used it in work environments, gigs that I have to do. It works for bass or guitar or any kind of guitar. It's got a couple of really neat features and very helpful for things like, for instance, if you've got an acoustic guitar that does not have the ability to be electrified or doesn't have an electric pickup inside, you have a microphone that's on the front of this unit that allows you to be able to set this right on a table right next to you like I'm doing here. Set it down and you can go through your strings and it'll hear your guitar as you're going through, and it'll actually identify automatically which note and which string you're playing, so that we'll make sure that that string is in tune, or if it's not in tune, it'll show you how far off and it'll show you sharp or flat, and you adjust accordingly. Also, if you do have a guitar, like an acoustic guitar like this one here, which does have a pickup on it, and it has electronics, as you can see here on the top, and I can plug right into the end of this right here. It has a 1/4-inch jack that fits your guitar cable, and you can plug directly into it with your guitar so that you can tune up that way as well. Very convenient, very powerful. It's a good little tool. In the old days, I used a larger version of this, which was a little more mechanical in use, but I used that as I traveled as a musician and stayed on top of my guitar amp, and I used it quite a bit. I didn't have roadies back in those times, but it was very important to have my guitar in tune all the time. So in between songs or in between sets, I was always making sure my instruments were tuned up. If you're playing in an ensemble situation, it's very crucial, but even when you're playing by yourself or just for a group of your friends, you want to make sure that you're able to be in tune when you're playing, so the music that you're playing sounds good and it's the intonation is correct, and the chords come out clear and clean and in tune. Very important thing. So again, a guitar tuner. Now this is probably going to run you between $20, $25, maybe $30 for something like this, but there's different levels of these, and you can go a little bit lower in, but I suggest that you stay probably within the $20 to $25 range, and maybe up to no farther than $35 or $40, and get one that will be very functional for you. So take your time and go check them out, and check out different ones to make sure the one that you get works for you. Alright, now number 3 on the list is guitar picks. Now I use a guitar pick on my steel string guitar, and on my classical guitar here, like some of you may have with the nylon strings, those traditionally are played with your fingers. But as I'm going through the videos that we're going to be putting together, I will be using my pick in both situations, just to make sure that the notes are clear and so that you can hear what I'm playing clearly. And I think it's just the tack is a little bit more direct and immediate with using a pick, so that you're able to clearly understand what I'm doing, what you're doing, and that we're on the same page. But again, guitar picks come in a variety of shapes, sizes, thicknesses, in regarding to how easy they bend or they don't bend, and a variety of colors as well. And the variety is so great that you're going to be boggled trying to choose. But I keep it simple. What I use and have used for many years is Fender heavy guitar picks. Now I'm going to use heavy guitar picks in everything that we do, because again, the pick that's heavier has a stronger attack, and the notes will be coming out very clear and strong, easy for you to hear, so that you can hear what I'm doing and learn what I'm teaching you. But there are times when I do use a thin pick, and I have a variety of manufactured picks. There's so many different companies. There's Herco, there's all kinds of companies that make picks and different materials that they make them out of. And I'll use thin picks if I'm doing strumming work. For instance, if I have a recording session that requires guitar, acoustic guitar, and it needs a strumming type work, it's a lot easier with a thin pick to get a nice smooth attack when you're strumming. But as we advance in the videos that we go through, you'll be able to judge based on what we're playing if you want to use a thinner pick or a heavier pick. But for the most part, we're going to use a heavy pick. Now I will use a heavy pick, and if you'd like to use a heavy pick, you can as well. Alright, so picks, again, there's a variety. For about $4, $3, $4, you can come out with a handful of about 4 or 5 of them, and they last you forever. You know, if you don't play them hard like I used to when I was a youngster, playing 80s, 70s, and 80s rock and metal, that's where I came from. I destroyed picks on a regular basis, and I had mountains of picks. We always did, so that if we broke one from strumming really hard, you know, playing rock, you're going to strum awfully hard, and you have plenty of them to choose from. So again, take your pick. Alrighty, now the next item on our list, number 4, is a guitar stand. Now I want to show you a guitar stand that I got just the other day that I think is a really neat stand. It's not a type that I normally use myself here at home and when I'm out doing work outside, but it's a very cost-effective solution, and It works really well. Actually, it's probably safer than many, but let me show this to you. I have here, straight from the local guitar center in Lawndale, California, I have a little guitar stand here. Now this stand is a really great little stand here. It ran about $10.99 or so plus tax. You know, very cost effective and very efficient. Now I don't use stands like this normally anymore. I use more of an A-frame type that is a little shorter in height. And I use a lot of them sometimes if I've got my guitars laid out, different guitars for different things. If I'm in a recording session, for instance, and I need multiple guitars to do different things on different tracks of music, so I use those and I put them all around me. And but I don't use this type as often. But I use these, you know, and I do have a couple of them laying around. Every guitar player that's been playing for any years, and we've got a bunch of junk that we keep for years, and I always have some of these, which are great to have nearby if you're just doing something around the house. And then for our purposes here, for you, think of it as a way to kind of keep your guitar up and out of the way. You don't want to lay it down on the couch or lay it on the floor on its back or something, or lean it up against a piece of furniture if you can help it. Put it in a stand so that when you're ready to pick it up again, like for instance, if you're not through playing completely for the day and you think that you want to pick it up later on, put it in your stand. And that way it keeps it nice and safe, you know. And it's very safe because your neck goes into this section right here and works really great. If you hit the top of your neck of your guitar by accident, it's not going to tip over quite as easily because it's got to go through these little arms right here that stick out, and it holds up pretty well. And of course you put the base of the guitar here first and lean it back into the stand. Works really great, and I suggest you go ahead and get one of these. And again, they're going to run a little more than $10 plus tax, and it's a great value. It really, really is. You know, and everybody should have one. Okay, so that's guitar stand. Now I do want to share a little story with you about these. Years ago, I had one in my family room with my children, my kids when they were toddlers. My middle daughter, who's now she's now 23 years old, saw this after I'd left it in the family room one day, and I'd taken the guitar out, put it in the case, and left the stand there, you know, accidentally, just kind of had it out, you know, while I was doing some practicing. She sees this and thinks that it's one of those stair climbing exercise machines that she saw on TV in one of those infomercials. So she puts it on the floor in front of her there, and she puts her hands, each hand on each side here of this part here that holds the guitar neck, and then she puts one foot each on the sides of this the base here that holds the bottom of the guitar. She put one foot on the left and the other foot on the right, and she was busy at it doing this with her feet and holding on to here because she thought it was an exercise machine. Okay, Dad, don't leave these out when you've got toddlers. The kids are smart. They're going to get some ideas. Okay, that's enough of that. I'm sure you wanted to hear that. Okay, next item on our list. Number 5. A case or a gig bag for your guitar. Now, cases are very important. Now, for me, it's a bit extreme. I go a lot of different places and I play. I play at my church on Sunday. I do missionary work over at the LA Mission every now and then, and like once a month. And I carry my gear, my guitars, and my amps with me and everything, because I play electric guitar as well. That's my main instrument. And if I'm out playing a regular casual gig of some kind, I need to have my guitar in a case. Now, I've had situations where I've dropped my guitars while inside cases, and some results have been good and some bad. But for your situation, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have a case for your guitar so that when you're done at the end of the day playing your guitar, you want to put it not in that stand that I was showing you, but you want to go ahead and put it away in the case. Put it in the case because it's protected. It can't accidentally be fallen into. It can't be, you know, it can be dropped or bumped a little bit inside the case, but it's not going to sustain damage very easily if it's inside some type of a case. Now, what I want to show you, because Again, because price is important. We know that most of us are not rich here. We don't have the money to go down and get the high dollar items that we're discussing here, like the tuners and the stands and the cases. But let me show you a case that I got. And I got this one here, a real deal from the local retailer, and it's a great case. It's really great, and actually it's got some accents that are very fashionable and really cool for the kids. For me, they think I'm a pretty cool guy because I've got this gig bag that's got this hot green, neon green stripe here that is basically the section where it has the storage bags. And I've also got this really cool name on the side of the bag, Tantrum. So the kids get a kick out of that. Oh yeah. But hey, this is a very good bag. Some of the features. You've got a mesh covered bag here on the front, the very front here, that basically allows you to be able to put certain items, like if you've got some guitar picks like I have in here. I've got some spare guitar picks in there. I have some documentation on one of the guitars that I have that's still in there. It's been in there for a long time. Any kind of little knickknacks that you want to put inside there. Items like you want to put your rag in there. We'll talk about that rags later. But it also has another pouch on the front here that zipper's closed and open, and it has pouches inside of it. And it has pouches where you can leave things like you can put a CD in there. There's one of the size that's perfect for CDs. There's another size here that's perfect for putting things like pencils and pens. And for guys like me, if I have to go to a session and I need to have my charts or my music notation sheets, my music sheets with me, if I have to read the music, I'll have those with me normally so that I can kind of do some pre-rehearsing with it, and I'll bring them with me to the session, and I put them in this bag right here, and it works really great. You're going to find that you're going to have things like instructional books that you're going to want to keep in that pouch, just like anyone else. We have all of our books. We have our chord sheets that we put together, things like that. Some of us read chord charts and that kind of thing, or we have chord diagram sheets that you want to keep with us so that you can remember how to play that. Put your fingers on the neck and that shape of that chord that you want to remember, which is a good practice. Also, though, there's another little bag here too. Now these gig bags customarily come with bags at the bottom like this, and at the top where the neck of the guitar is. And this little bag here is up on top. It's just a narrow bag, but it's really neat for putting things like guitar string changing tools, like you've got a hand crank to change your strings with. You maybe have a pair of clippers in there. You may put your capo, for those of you who know what a capo is, where you can clamp off frets up beyond your last fret, your first fret on your guitar, and play in different keys that way, using first position chordings. Now, again, this cost-wise is going to be somewhere on the low end around $29 to well over $150 for gig bags, because the materials will change, the construction will change. I have a friend that has a soft bag, but it has hard panels on the sides, which is even a little extra protection, but is not a total hard shell case. But again, what we want to do here is we want to give you cost-effective solutions, and if you stay in that $29 to maybe $40 or $50 range, you're going to get a pretty decent case. If you go to the lower end, you're going to get one that's not going to give you as much padding. This bag, for instance, here, this one here has really good padding inside, which I didn't show you, but it's got a good amount of padding on the side, so if I did drop it from a short distance, it's going to protect the guitar. I have damaged acoustic guitars before in gig bags, but lesser quality bags than this one here. So just keep that in mind. Go to the local retailer and look at the variety. There's tons of them that they have, and you can decide based on your budget and how cool they look as well. Okay, coolness, and functionality, very important things. All right, great. Okay, let's keep on going down our list here. Next on our list is another optional item, a footstool or a footrest for your foot if you're playing acoustic guitar, for instance. Now, this is more customary for classical guitar players because of the fact that their technique is a little different than folk or rock or blues guitar players like myself. So I'm going to give you kind of a demonstration here. I don't really have one with me because I don't have one of mine at home. Although I've been to some studios when I've gone to visit and do work or whatever, and they have them there just as an extra if you need one. And for most of us, we're going to be playing our guitar and putting it on our right thigh if we're a right-handed guitar player like I am. Okay. And of course, everything we talk about is the exact reverse for left-handed guitar players, relatively. But again, we put our guitar on our right thigh here, and we rest it that way, and then we kind of play along like this. Okay, but classical guitar players customarily like to have their guitar on their left thigh, and their foot is on that stool, that rest. It raises the guitar up really high and puts it right up in the chest area right here, and they like that instrument real up close to them. And then they have their technique that's a little different than ours as well, where their hand is beneath the guitar neck and their thumb is on the lower edge of the neck, and they're able to play. Wow, that sounded classical, didn't it? Wow. Different technique. Not necessarily the technique that we'll be focusing on, but again, the footrest can be used by anybody, and if you think that that might work out for you, then that's fine. Check them out, try them out in the store. And now the price range of those are between $10 and $25 that I've seen, and check that out for yourself if you really want to look into one. They're made out of metal. Usually the basic standard cheapy version is made out of metal with a tread pad on the top that you put your foot down on, and then the higher end ones are made out of wood, as I've seen, and very nice looking wood grain, and they're in that 25 or more range for those. So that's an option. You don't necessarily have to have that, but I just want to put that out there because that's something that acoustic players may actually want to do. I've seen others do that as well. Okay, now let's move on to the next item of our list here, which is the last item, and this has to do with the maintenance of your guitar. And when I say maintenance, this is basic maintenance. Okay, very simple. Rags. I always keep rags in my gig bags for all my guitars, my electric and my acoustics. And the reason why is because of the fact that many times when I'm working, I do sweat. And when I sweat, it kind of gets my neck really gummy, and it actually gets the face of the guitar kind of gummy and wet, and a little dirt accumulates. But also for the preservation of my guitar strings, it's good to have a rag with me, because if I'm playing my guitar and I've got really sweaty after having played a set for somewhere, and got a new set of strings on there particularly, and I want to keep those strings is in good a condition as possible for as long as possible, which is very cost effective. You want to do that. You want to take care of your strings. So I'm going to pull up my steel string guitar again and use it as a demo here. Now, this guitar is actually really clean. It's been in the house. I haven't done a lot of hard playing with it, but here, let me show you what I mean. After a long, hard, several hours of playing, and I've got all my sweat and guck on the front of the guitar and on the strings and on the neck, I just take the nice soft rag, and what my wife does is she gives me all of the towels that she thinks are too threadbare to use for the shower, for the beach anymore, and she lets me take them and cut them up. So I cut them up in pieces, and I have plenty of rags to throw in my gig bag, and they work because they're nice and soft terry cloth, and they really do the job. You can also go to the store and for I think about $14 or $15 get a bag of lint-free rags, but these work just as good. And you just kind of lightly rub down your guitar. Now, I don't use a lot of those cleaning solutions that they sell in the stores and online. Sometimes I don't really think that that's really all that necessary. Sometimes they can create a lot of buildup that you end up having to try to strip off and rub off later on. So what I do is I use a little bit of water if I need to get some really tough dried on stuff on there. There shouldn't be much more than just your sweat and a little bit of grease. If it's anything else, you shouldn't be using your guitar for a plate to eat off of. But anyway, what I do is I dip a little water dip my rag into a little bit of water, and I just kind of go over the rougher parts, like more caked on grime, and then loosen it up and take the dry section and wipe it away. And along with the strings, what I'll do is I'll take the strings and lay the guitar in my lap like I'm doing right here, and I'll just kind of run up and down the strings like this, particularly the unwound strings, because on acoustic guitar we have 2 unwound strings, and then the rest of the 4 strings are going to be wound, wrapped with whatever type of material that your strings have, bronze or steel or whatever, and even nickel. And even on those wound strings, you rub them down, you wipe them down. You're not going to get everything off of those wound strings, because the dirt and the grime and the grease that comes from your hands is going to get into those windings, and it gets down to a microscopic level, and it's eventually going to break down those strings. But if you get that heavier junk that's on the outside of the strings off, it allows your strings to vibrate as freely as possible, and as near as good as when they were new. And it keeps them feeling and sounding a little newer for a little bit longer. And again, it's cost. I mean, I bought a set of strings just recently, the other day, for about $5, some steel guitar strings, and $5 to $6 you're going to pay for a set of strings. And although normally I use what's called elixir strings. These are made by a company called Gore, which I and a friend of mine, another guitar player friend of mine, had the pleasure of being able to beta test these strings that they make that are called Gore elixirs. And they have a version called Nano Web, and it's basically the type of coating that they put over particularly the wound strings. It's like a plastic coating that allows the string to not accept all of that grease and grime for a longer period of time, which allows those strings to sound very new for a very long time. And the particular model strings of the Nano Web, because the coating is so thin but so resilient, that the strings don't sound any less bright because of the coating that's on them, which was a key factor that we noted when we were doing the beta testing of those strings, is that they would send us strings in the mail that had all these different types of coatings. And we also received a checklist that was basically allowing us to be able to write down pretty much the stats of what we learned about the strings over time, over the course of, say, about a month or so. We play them, and what we do is we tell them how many times we played, for how long we played, what type of music we were playing, so they understood how hard we were working the strings, and how did the strings react to the stress that we put them under. And the earlier versions of that did struggle a little bit. The coating would fray and come off on the fronts and the backs. And but eventually they sent us a set that's had all the problems solved, and now they're in the market for everyone to use. So those strings cost now in the store retail price around $14 or $15. Now the good part about that is that you can keep those strings a lot longer than a standard set of strings. They do cost 2 or 3 times more than a regular set of strings, but if you look at how much you're saving and not having to purchase new sets of strings sooner, it kind of works itself out a little bit. But again, you can buy a standard set of strings for about $5. So that's some additional information that I did want to share in regards to the guitar strings, and that having to do with the maintenance of the guitar and the cleaning up of the guitar, that kind of thing. After you've used it for a time, you want to wipe it down and take care of those strings, wipe down the body so that you don't get stings that embed themselves into your finish. And it keeps your guitar looking very nice for a good long time. Now the last thing I want to talk to you about is this. Setup of your guitar. Now that term is really familiar to those of you out there who are familiar with guitar and have maybe done some work with guitar. Granted, now this video isn't for guys that are working, gigging pro guys. If you're a pro musician and you're watching this video because you're really bored, but For those of you who are not, and most of you out there are not pro guitar players by any stretch at this point, at least not yet, you've probably not heard much about that type of thing. But setting up the guitar has to do with something that requires a professional guitar repairman or luthier to do. I have friends that are guitar repairmen and they're luthiers, guys who build guitars. A good friend of mine, for instance, Jimmy Yamagishi here in the Pasadena area. He is a great luthier. He builds wonderful guitars, but he also does repairs and setups. And he does them for me. And I've had him do some very difficult jobs. I've bought him guitars that have had grooves dug into, and he was able to repair without having to even do refret jobs and make the guitar usable again. And I've taken other projects to him, and his guitars always play beautifully, and the reason why is because he does his own setups as well. And his guitars are set up in a way that for the acoustic, steel string acoustic particularly, which most of you are probably going to have, those guitars are a little tougher on your fingers than most. If you have a nylon string like my other guitar here, the nylon string is a little easier to play. It's a little less string tension. It's easier to squeeze the strings down. There's a little more spacing in between the strings, so you can get nice clear notes, and and you're not fretting out things as much. But on a steel string, it's nice to have one that's set up very nice properly, a nice low action, not so low that you're going to get fret buzzing, but low enough to where you don't have to press so hard. And also there's some neck adjustments with the truss rod that you can do as well that do this. But these are things that only the professional should do, because if you try to do it on your own, you could probably damage some things almost irreparably. irreparably. For instance, truss rod adjustments. I do not recommend you doing that on your own. And if you don't know what that is, that's good. You don't need to know unless you're talented and skilled at that type of thing. But neck adjustments and string height adjustments, bridge adjustments. Here's your bridge back here, okay? And that bridge can be adjusted, believe it or not. They have ways of doing all that. The nut can be adjusted or replaced to be the right height that it needs to be. So these are the kind of things that you need to have. Maybe your guitar that hasn't been worked on at all ever, or maybe very difficult to play. You may want to take your instrument into the store and play it for a technician or a repairman. Take it to a shop and and show them what you have, and ask them if they can get you a very nice setup for your acoustic guitar so that it feels and plays really good. Almost as good as an electric guitar, which electrics are a lot easier to play. Some people say that they play themselves, but basically there's some manufacturers that do a great job of building their guitars with that in mind right off the top. Martin guitars, wonderful guitars to play right out of the box. Taylor guitars, wonderful guitars to play. As a matter of fact, I believe, if I recall, I'm reading that Taylor guitars were made for the electric guitars in mind. And I believe that, because when you play their better high-end instruments, they really feel great. But there are other manufacturers as well that make really good feeling, good sounding, well set up guitars right from the factory. But most of us really have to take our instruments in and have them set up. So that's something that helps you get an instrument that is easy to play. And if it's easier to play, it's more fun to play, and you're going to want to go back to play it, because you're not struggling with trying to make notes come out. All you're trying to do is get the music to come out and start playing those chords that I'm going to teach you, and playing those melodies and things that I'd like to teach you in the future. So take care of your guitar. Put a little time and effort into that, a little bit of money. It's worth every bit. Now, the cost for that kind of thing is going to run you anywhere from about $50 to $100 or $150, depending on the guitar and the condition of the guitar. So don't be afraid of that. Take it in first, and then have someone give you an estimate. And also check with other technicians that do that work. Prices vary. The internet's great in finding people in your local area who can help you out with that. But I suggest you doing that. Okay, so that it helps you, again, get a guitar, you get to get an instrument that is fun to play and a lot easier to play. If it's easier to play, it's more fun to play, and it's more fun to learn on. So that's my list of things. I went a little beyond our seven items, but these last items are things that were important to go over. And I know this video may be a little long, but the other videos are going to be a lot shorter. But this one I thought was important that we went through a lot of these things in a little more detail, because we won't really have time to address a lot of those types of things later on. We're going to get right to the business of learning how to play your guitar. And starting with the very basics. These lessons are going to be for the beginning guitar player. It's introductory guitar work that we're going to be working on. And we're primarily going to be working with the first position here, the first 5 fret area of your guitar. So with that in mind, thank you for watching the video. If you've got any questions at all, eventually I'm going to have some additional online resources so that you can reach me, but you can always reach me via email, and my email address is philburnomusic@gmail.com. That's PHILBURNO music@gmail.com. No spaces, just Phil Burno Music. That's PHILBURNO music@gmail.com. So again, thank you for viewing. And the most important thing that I want to share again is that it's for the fun of it. Make it fun. If it's fun, you're going to enjoy it, and if you enjoy it, you're going to learn more, and you're going to be able to share more with your friends about it as well. You can start teaching other people the things that you learn. So keep it fun. And keep loving your guitar. Thanks.